The rain was coming down so hard I almost missed the turn to Victor Hale's house. Claire sat beside me in the passenger seat, silent since we left the charity gala, both hands wrapped around a silver clutch. I was already slowing for the private road when her hand shot across the console and locked over mine on the gear shift. Her fingers were ice cold. "Keep going," she whispered. I glanced at her, thinking I had misheard. She squeezed harder. "Do not turn in. If we go back to that house right now, we both die." Then she shoved her phone toward me. A live security feed filled the screen. Victor, my boss, was moving through his own living room with two armed men, ripping open drawers, checking closets, searching like they had lost something worth killing for. Claire looked at me and said, "He chose us to take the fall tonight." I pressed the accelerator. In the mirror, headlights appeared behind us. If you were in my seat, would you trust your boss's terrified wife, or assume you were being played? Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments before you hear what I learned about that hand on mine. 3 hours earlier, I had been standing under a chandelier at the Whitmore Foundation Gala, wondering why men like Victor Hale always looked most comfortable in rooms paid for by other people. I was 28, a compliance operations manager at Hale Meridian, a firm handling infrastructure grants and public redevelopment contracts. Most days, I chased missing approvals and numbers that did not line up. Victor liked to joke that I had the soul of an auditor and the face of a hostage. For 4 years, I thought that was affection. That night, I had spent most of the gala near the rear wall with Maya Torres, a 24-year-old forensic analyst from our internal review team. Maya was the only person at Hale Meridian who could look at a spreadsheet for 30 seconds and tell you which number had been moved to make a lie look boring. We had become friends through late nights, bad coffee, and the shared belief that every crisis began with someone saying, "It's probably nothing." At 9:40, Maya showed me a discrepancy on her phone. A municipal renewal account had transferred $6.8 million to a subcontractor that had no active license. "Tell me you've seen this vendor before," she said. I had. Blackridge Development. The name had appeared in 3 files I had flagged over the past 6 months. Each time, someone above me closed the review. Before I could answer, Victor appeared at my shoulder with a hand warm from whiskey and expensive confidence. "Ethan," he said, "I need a favor." His wife stood 20 feet away near the ballroom doors. Claire Hale was not drunk, no matter what Victor told me. I noticed that in hindsight. At the time, I noticed only that she looked pale. "Claire's had too much champagne," Victor said. "Driver got pulled to another pickup." "Take my car?" "Actually, no. Use yours. Less hassle. Get her home for me." Maya's expression changed. "She doesn't look drunk," she said quietly after Victor walked away. "Maybe she hides it well. Maybe he wants you gone." I laughed because I did not yet understand that Maya rarely joked when numbers were wrong. Claire joined me outside beneath the hotel awning. She did not stumble. She did not slur. She thanked the valet by name, got into my gray sedan, and immediately checked the side mirror. We drove through downtown Portland in silence. At the first red light, she asked, "Do you trust my husband?" The question landed so strangely that I looked at her. "I work for him. That isn't what I asked." I gave the safe answer. "He's always treated me fairly." Claire turned toward the rain-blurred window. "That's how Victor treats people before he needs something from them." My phone buzzed in the cup holder. Maya. I let it ring because Claire was watching me. A minute later, Maya sent a message. "Do not sign anything tonight." I read it at the next light. Then Claire's hand closed over mine at the turn to the Hale estate, and the night split in 2. The security feed on her phone showed Victor in a black dress shirt, jacket gone, speaking sharply to 2 men I had never seen. One held a handgun low beside his leg. The other was opening cabinets with gloved hands. "Why are they searching your house?" I asked. "For a drive." "What drive?" "The one that proves what he is." The headlights behind us drew closer. Claire twisted in her seat and looked through the rear window. "Black Escalade?" I checked the mirror. "Yes. That's them." My mouth went dry. "Call 911. No. Victor has people everywhere." It was a convenient answer, but with the Escalade closing behind us, I let it stand. The Escalade closed the gap. I left the freeway route, cut through 2 lit parking lots, and doubled back onto a one-way street. The SUV overshot 1 turn, then reappeared 2 blocks later. They were not guessing. "They can track us," I said. Claire went still. "My phone. Turn it off." I did. Then mine. I grabbed my phone, powered it down, and tossed it into the glove box. The Escalade stayed with us. Claire whispered, "Your car." A sick thought formed. I had parked in the executive garage at the gala. Hale Meridian issued windshield access tags to management. The same tags were tied into our fleet location system for security. I reached under the dashboard and ripped the tag loose from its adhesive strip, then threw it out the window at the next intersection. The Escalade stayed behind us for another 3 blocks. Then it turned the wrong way. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like minutes. Claire started shaking. I pulled beneath the awning of an abandoned furniture store where the street was dark and empty. "Start talking," I said. She held her clutch against her chest. "Victor launders money through public contracts. That's a huge accusation. It's not an accusation." She opened the clutch and removed a key. Not a house key, a bank deposit key. Blackridge Development, North Harbor Civic, East Line Procurement, Silver Peak Advisory. They're all fronts. Victor moves grant money through layered invoices, buys assets through nominees, then sends part of it offshore. He keeps the clean records at the office and the real ledger offline. On the drive. She nodded. "Why do you have access?" "Because he made the mistake of trusting me before he started fearing me." That sounded rehearsed, but fear has a way of making polished sentences seem possible. I asked the question that mattered. "Why me?" Claire looked directly at me. "Because your credentials approved 3 transfers this week." "No, they didn't. Your login did." My stomach tightened. I thought of Maya's message. "Do not sign anything tonight. Someone used my account." "Yes." "Victor? His people. And tonight? He wants the missing drive found before midnight. If he can't find it, he'll say you stole the money, abducted me when I found out, and tried to flee with the evidence. That is insane. So is $6.8 million disappearing into a dead vendor." My eyes snapped to her. "How do you know that number?" She hesitated. Just half a second, long enough for the first small alarm bell in my head to ring. "I found that transfer tonight," I said. "I never told you." Claire's face changed, but only slightly. "Victor complained about it this morning." Possible. Too possible. That was the problem. I wanted a lie clean enough to reject. Claire gave me a story built from truths I already knew. "We need the drive," she said. "Then we go somewhere federal. FBI. Not the local field office." "Why?" "Victor has contacts. You keep saying that, because you keep underestimating him." I looked at the key in her palm. "Where is the drive?" "Rosemont Community Bank. Safety deposit box. My maiden name. Banks aren't open at midnight. This one has private client access until 11. Victor arranged it. That was another detail that should have bothered me. Instead, the thought of proof, real, physical proof, pulled harder than doubt. I checked the clock. 10:17 p.m. "We get the drive," I said. Then I decide where it goes. Claire nodded. For the first time, she seemed relieved. That should have bothered me most. We stayed off the main roads. My phone remained off. Claire used hers only twice, both times to check the security feed. On the first check, Victor was gone from the house. On the second, the cameras were black. At 10:31, Maya's earlier warning kept scraping at the back of my mind. I turned my phone on for 12 seconds. 3 messages came through. Where are you? Ethan, answer me. Victor just told security you stole a company vehicle. You didn't. I typed one reply. With Claire. Go home. Save copies of Black Ridge files. Then I shut the phone off. Claire watched me. Who was that? Coworker. You shouldn't involve anyone. I'm already involved. You don't understand what Victor does to people who know too much. And you do? Her jaw tightened. Yes. For the next 10 minutes, neither of us spoke. Then the Escalade appeared again. It came out of a side street behind us with its headlights off, close enough that I saw the outline of 2 men through the windshield. Claire inhaled sharply. How? I had no answer. The SUV surged forward. I accelerated. We ran through rain, empty intersections, and orange construction lights. I did not drive like a movie hero. I drove like a terrified man trying not to kill anyone, while a 2-ton vehicle kept filling his rearview mirror. My palms slipped on the wheel. My heartbeat pounded against my throat. Twice, I almost missed turns because the road markings had vanished underwater. At one intersection, the Escalade pulled beside us. The passenger window lowered. Claire screamed. Down! I ducked instinctively. Something cracked against the rear quarter panel. I never saw the weapon. I only heard the metallic impact and the shriek of Claire's breath. I swung right into a parking garage entrance, clipped a plastic divider, and shot up the ramp. The Escalade tried to follow, but the gate dropped after us. It smashed through anyway. They're not stopping, I said. No. Then why aren't they shooting us? Claire looked at me. For one heartbeat, I saw calculation instead of fear. Then she said, Victor wants the drive. That answer made sense. Again, every answer made just enough sense. We cut across the 3rd level and down the opposite ramp. I killed my headlights behind a concrete wall. The Escalade tore past above us, and I took the exit before they could circle back. By 10:46, Rosemont Community Bank came into view, a small brick building with only the side entrance lit. Claire held up the key. We have 14 minutes. I pulled into the rear lot, but did not shut off the engine. Before we go in, I said, tell me what's on the drive. Transaction ledgers, account numbers, recorded calls, copies of altered authorization logs, my logs. Yes, so it clears me. It proves your credentials were cloned. How? There are access timestamps from Victor's private office. I studied her. Why didn't you take this to the police before tonight? Because tonight was the first time I knew Victor had decided to kill me. The answer did not fit perfectly with her claim that he needed us alive to take the fall. It was only a slight contradiction. I had spent 4 years finding slight contradictions. Let's get it, I said. Inside, a night manager named Mr. Benson recognized Claire immediately. Mrs. Hale, he said. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. Claire smiled with strained politeness. Change of plans. His gaze moved to me. This is Ethan Cole, she said. He's assisting me. Benson's eyes lingered on my wetsuit and scraped knuckles. Of course. He scanned Claire's identification, then asked me to sign a visitor log. I froze. Maya's message came back. Do not sign anything tonight. Claire looked at me. What's wrong? Nothing. I signed E. Cole with my left hand, deliberately changing the slant of every letter. Benson led us through a coded door and down a short corridor to the vault room. The safety deposit box was 417. Claire inserted her key. Benson used the bank key. The box slid free. He left us alone in a private viewing room. Claire locked the door behind him. Inside the metal box was a passport, 2 stacks of cash, a sealed envelope, and a black ruggedized SSD about the size of a deck of cards. "There," she said. She reached for it. I reached first. The label read, "Chom Archive C. Hale Meridian used the same drives for field audits." I had one in my laptop bag back in the car, scratched near the USB port where I had dropped it on concrete 6 months earlier. Claire held out her hand. "We need to leave." I turned the drive over. A small strip of white tape crossed the back seam. On it, in blue ink, were 3 letters. EC. My initials. Not Victor's. Not Claire's. Mine. Why is my name on this? Claire stared at the tape. "I don't know." I looked up at her. For the first time all night, she did not have an answer ready. "Ethan, why is my name on the drive you said proves I'm innocent? Maybe Victor labeled it for the frame." Maybe. Footsteps sounded in the hall. Claire's head snapped toward the door. "We have to go." I slipped the drive into my jacket pocket. As I did, my fingers touched the old field SSD I had taken from my laptop bag before entering. I had grabbed it without thinking, the way I always carried evidence media during an audit. 2 black drives, same model, same rubberized shell, one scratched, one clean. A thought came to me so quickly it felt less like planning than reflex. I turned my back as if checking the envelope, slid the clean bank drive into the concealed breast pocket inside my jacket, and put my scratched field SSD into the outer jacket pocket. Then I turned around. Claire had not seen. "Ready?" she asked. I nodded, but something between us had already changed. I no longer believed I was rescuing Claire Hale. I believed I was standing inside someone else's plan. I just did not know whose. We made it halfway across the bank lobby before the lights outside exploded blue and white. Mr. Benson stopped behind the counter. Claire stopped beside me. I heard brakes, doors, shouted commands. Then the front entrance burst inward. "Hands! Show me your hands!" Men in tactical gear flooded the lobby. For one wild second, I almost felt relief. Police. Real police. Claire had lied about calling them, but none of that mattered anymore. We had the evidence. We had a bank manager who had seen us together. We had security cameras. I raised both hands. "My name is Ethan Cole," I said. "I work for Hale Meridian. There's evidence in my—" Someone drove me to my knees. My shoulder hit tile. A gloved hand pulled my right arm behind my back, then my left. Metal closed around my wrists. Across the lobby, Claire stood untouched. Not handcuffed. Not even ordered down. She simply stepped aside. "Claire?" I said. She looked at me. The terror was gone. Every trace of it. The doors opened again, and Victor walked in. He wore the same black dress shirt from the security feed, now covered by a dark overcoat. Rain glittered on his hair. Behind him were the 2 men from the house. Neither had a weapon visible. Victor crossed the lobby as if arriving late to a meeting. Claire went to him. He wrapped one arm around her waist. She leaned into him. Then he kissed her temple. The room seemed to tilt. I stared at them from the floor. Victor looked down at me with an expression I had seen dozens of times in conference rooms when a junior employee finally understood a decision had been made without him. Disappointment? Almost paternal? "Ethan," he said, "why did you make this so difficult?" I could not speak. Claire reached into my jacket pocket. The officer restraining me did not stop her. She removed my scratched field SSD. The fake. "There it is," she said softly. Victor exhaled. A detective in a raincoat stepped forward and took it from her using an evidence bag. "Mr. Cole," he said, "you're being detained in connection with the theft of public funds, unlawful access to protected financial systems, and the suspected coercion of Claire Hale." I looked at Claire. "Coercion?" She lowered her eyes. It was a performance so precise that I suddenly understood why she had never once looked drunk at this gala. Victor's face hardened. "My wife called me from the car," he said. "She said you forced her to help you retrieve stolen records." "That's a lie." The detective continued, as if I had not spoken. "We also have a preliminary statement indicating you used your Hale Meridian credentials to authorize multiple transfers totaling $6.8 million. My credentials were cloned." Victor shook his head. "Don't." I laughed. I could not help it. A short, stunned sound came out of me. "Don't what?" "Make this worse. You sent me with her." Victor looked wounded. "I asked you to drive my wife home because she trusted you." Claire's mouth trembled on cue. I watched it happen and felt something colder than fear settle inside me. The hand on the gear shift, the security feed, the chase, the bank. Every moment had been arranged to make me move exactly where they needed me to move. Not because I was foolish, because they had studied what kind of man I was. I would help someone who seemed afraid. I would chase proof before protecting myself. I would believe a ledger before an instinct. Victor had not picked the weakest person in his company. He had picked the most predictable, honest one. The detective pulled me to my feet. "Where's my phone?" I asked. No one answered. "Check the gala cameras." Victor asked me to take her. "We will. Check the tracking history on my access tag." "We will. Check the bank video." She opened the box. Claire looked at me now. A tiny warning appeared in her eyes. Not fear, interest. She was wondering how much I had noticed. That was when I remembered the real drive pressing flat inside the concealed breast pocket of my jacket. I had slipped it into a narrow pocket sewn behind the breast lining, a place I used for hotel keys when traveling. The tactical officer had searched my jacket pocket quickly after cuffing me, but he had not removed the jacket yet. I stopped talking. The detective noticed. "What?" "Nothing." Victor's eyes narrowed. He knew me well enough to know silence meant calculation. "Search him thoroughly," he said. The detective looked at him. "Mr. Hale, you don't give orders here." That was the first good sentence I had heard all night. Victor smiled. Of course. 2 officers escorted me outside. The Escalade sat across the street. Its rear quarter panel carried a fresh scrape from the parking garage. The same SUV. So the chase had been real, or real enough. One of the men from Victor's house stood beside it, talking to an officer. My mind replayed the crack against my car. Not a bullet, I realized now. Probably something thrown. Metal on metal. Loud enough to make me duck. Terrifying enough to sell the story. They had never been trying to kill us. They had been hurting us. I was placed in the back of a patrol car. Before the door closed, I saw Victor pull Claire against him under the bank awning. She rested her head on his chest. He smiled at me over her hair. Then the door shut. For the first time all night, I smiled back. Because the drive they had taken from my jacket was mine, blank except for old field templates and a corrupted photo folder. The drive that came out of box 417 was still inside my coat lining. And before the police car moved, I had one more realization. Claire had told me the drive contained the truth. She had never said it was encrypted. Maya would know what to do with it. The problem was getting it to her before anyone found it. The patrol car pulled away. My smile disappeared as soon as the bank left the rear window. I was still handcuffed, still accused of stealing nearly $7 million, still carrying evidence that could either save me or complete the frame. A brilliant trick is only brilliant until the police inventory your clothes. I needed time. The detective riding in front was named Daniel Reeves. I learned that from the badge clipped to his belt. He was mid-40s, tired eyes, no patience for Victor, which gave me one narrow reason to trust him. Detective Reeves. He did not turn around. What? You said detained, not arrested. Correct. So you're still checking the story. That's what detectives do. Then before you book me, call Maya Torres at Hale Meridian. Your coworker? You know her name? Now he looked back. Mr. Cole. We know a lot of names. That was not comforting. Maya found the Blackridge transfer before any of this happened. She warned me not to sign anything. Why? Ask her. I plan to. Ask her before Victor knows you're asking. Reeves watched me for a moment, then faced forward again. At the precinct, they took me through a side entrance. An officer removed my cuffs inside an interview room and told me to empty my pockets onto a tray. Wallet, keys, loose change, bank receipt. Nothing else. The real drive was still in the hidden lining. Jacket too, the officer said. I folded it onto the table, hiding the inner pocket beneath the sleeve. The officer picked it up. Then Reeves opened the door. Hold inventory. The officer paused. Reeves looked at me. Your coworker is downstairs. Maya. Relief hit so hard it was almost pain. Then Reeves added, with an attorney. I nearly laughed again. That sounds like her. They moved me to another interview room. Maya was behind the glass in the adjacent observation area, with a woman I recognized as Hale Meridian's outside counsel, Rachel Kim. That made no sense. Then Rachel came in and sat across from me. Maya called me privately, she said. I do not represent Hale Meridian tonight. I represent you, if you want me to. Why would you do that? Because at 10:23, Maya sent me copies of documents suggesting Hale Meridian officers may have falsified municipal payment records. At 10:51, she sent another message saying you were likely being set up. I stared at the glass. Maya stood beyond it, arms folded tightly across her chest. She looked furious and scared. Can I talk to her? After we deal with what you're carrying. My eyes went to Rachel. She lowered her voice. Ethan, Detective Reeves told me you stopped speaking when Mr. Hale demanded they search you. If you have evidence, now is the time to let your attorney know. I leaned back. For 4 years, I had believed systems protected people if you followed them carefully enough. Tonight, every system had been used as scenery. The company credentials, the bank log, the security cameras, even my instinct to cooperate. So I made a different choice. Not until Reeves is in the room. Rachel nodded once. He came in 2 minutes later. I told Reeves about the identical drives and the one hidden in my jacket. I said I would surrender it only after he documented on camera where it came from and who was present. He looked relieved. That, he said, is the first thing tonight that sounds like something a compliance manager would do. The evidence camera was turned on. Rachel witnessed. Reeves wore gloves. He retrieved the drive from the lining and placed it in a new evidence bag. I watched the label disappear behind plastic. HM Archive CEC. Why your initials? Reeves asked. I don't know. Maya's voice came through the open door. I might. Everyone turned. Rachel frowned. Maya? I know. I'm not supposed to be in here. She stepped inside anyway. Her dark hair was damp from the rain, the black gala dress hidden beneath an oversized company raincoat. I had seen Maya angry before. I had never seen her look at me the way she did then. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Define okay." Her eyes closed for half a second. Then she faced Reeves. "EC isn't Ethan Cole." I blinked. "What?" She pulled a printed corporate ownership chart from a folder. "East Cascade Holdings. EC Victor uses abbreviations on offline archive labels. East Cascade is the parent entity behind Blackridge Development." Reeves stared at the drive. Maya continued. "I found it after Ethan left the gala. East Cascade owns Blackridge through 2 intermediary LLCs. The registered agent is a trust company. The trust beneficiary is Claire Hale." The room went silent. Claire. Not a trapped spouse, not a frightened witness, a beneficiary, a partner. Maya placed another page on the table. And this is why they picked Ethan. 3 weeks ago, Victor ordered an access migration. Ethan's admin token was duplicated during the process. The request was approved by the chief technology officer using an exception code from Victor's office. "Can you prove that?" Reeves asked. "I preserved the server logs before they were overwritten." My eyes met hers. "You did that tonight? I did it after I told you not to sign anything, and you ignored every other implication of that message." Despite everything, a breath of laughter escaped me. Maya's expression cracked. For 1 second, we were back at our desks at midnight, arguing over whose turn it was to get coffee. Then Reeves said, "We still need to know what's on the drive." A forensic technician imaged it while we watched from the interview room. Claire had told the truth about the ledgers, account maps, and recordings. She had lied about whom they condemned. The files documented her, too. Claire's voice appeared on recorded calls, arranging transfers, discussing shell entities, and instructing someone to route municipal funds through a charitable redevelopment account. Victor's voice appeared, too. So did references to me, not conversations with me, plans about me. One audio file had been recorded 6 days earlier. Victor said, "Cole's clean enough that nobody will believe he's dirty until they see his credentials." Claire answered, "That's why it works. Clean people leave the best fingerprints." I felt Maya's hand close around the back of my chair. Another recording. "Claire, he'll drive me if you ask him." Victor, "He won't call the police?" Claire, "Not if I give him a reason not to trust them." Victor, "And the bank?" Claire, "I'll get him inside. Once he touches the archive, we call it in." My skin went cold. Reeves stopped the playback. Nobody spoke. Maya's hand was still on my chair. Rachel said very quietly, "That's conspiracy." Reeves looked at the technician. "Copy everything. Separate chain of custody. Nobody outside this room gets the contents until I make 2 calls." "Federal?" I asked. "Federal." Victor had not owned the police. Claire had lied because the fastest way to isolate me was to convince me that every legitimate exit was compromised. It was elegant, almost. "What about the security feed?" I asked. Maya answered before Reeves could. "I checked the Hale residence system." "You can do that?" Rachel gave her a look before Maya could explain too much. "I preserved the authorized security audit logs," Maya said. The house feed Claire showed Ethan was delayed by 11 minutes. Reeves leaned forward. So when he saw Hale searching the house, it had already happened. And the armed men? Contract security, licensed. One of them filed an incident report last month after Victor claimed a threat against the family. I thought of the black SUV. The chase. Reeves's mouth tightened. We'll sort out what laws they broke there. The technician called him over. A final folder on the drive was password protected. Its name was Failsafe. Maya stared at it. Try Blackridge's inactive vendor number, she said. The folder opened. Inside were passport scans, offshore account references, 2 airline reservations for the following morning, and a document titled Narrative. The narrative was a script, not a movie script. My life. It laid out the story Victor and Claire planned to give investigators. Ethan Cole discovered an embezzlement mechanism, diverted funds using cloned executive approvals, became romantically obsessed with Claire, forced her to help him recover records from a bank box, and attempted to flee. I read the words romantically obsessed twice. Then I looked at Maya. She looked offended on my behalf. They made you a stalker, she said. Apparently I've had a very busy secret life. Her eyes did not leave mine. Good thing I know what your actual secret life looks like. What does it look like? Color-coded audit notes and reheated noodles. Reeves cleared his throat. For the first time, I remembered we were not alone. By 2:10 a.m., federal agents were on the way. Victor and Claire were being held for further questioning, and the Escalade had been impounded. I was not free yet, but the truth had finally become heavier than the lie. At 3:06, Reeves returned. Victor says the recordings are fabricated, and you planted the drive. You have the bank cameras, deposit box records, and Maya's logs. We do. We also imaged your fake drive. It's exactly as useless as you promised. You think I got lucky? Reeves studied me. I looked through the glass at Maya. I got warned. At 4:20, I was released. Not exonerated in some dramatic courtroom declaration. Not cleared forever with a handshake. Real investigations do not move that neatly. But I walked out the front door without cuffs. Rachel had my jacket. Maya had my phone. The rain had slowed to a mist. For a moment, none of us said anything. Then Maya punched me in the shoulder. Hard. Ow! That was for turning your phone off, getting into a car chase, and walking into a bank with a woman you already suspected. That feels like 3 separate punches. She tried again. I caught her wrist gently. We both froze. Her anger drained. The night caught up with her all at once. Her eyes filled. You could have disappeared, she said. The words were barely audible. I let go of her wrist. I know. No, you don't. At 10:52, your location stopped moving near Rosemont. Then police scanners reported a possible kidnapping suspect at the bank. Your name showed up 11 minutes later. Maya, I thought they had built it too well. She looked away. I thought being right about the numbers wasn't going to matter. I had spent the night reacting to other people's hands. Now Maya's were trembling, because she had spent hours preserving the evidence that could bring me back. I reached for one. She let me take it. I'm sorry, I said. For what? For treating your warning like a footnote. That's not what I meant. I know. She looked at me then. There had been something between us for months, built from small choices neither of us had named. Tonight made hesitation feel like a luxury. I kept thinking, I said, if I get out of this, I'm going to stop assuming I have unlimited time to say obvious things. Maya's mouth moved into the smallest smile. That sounds dangerously emotional for you. I'm exhausted. Clearly, I wanted to take you to dinner. We already eat dinner together. Not at our desks. She studied me. Are you asking me on a date 4 minutes after being released from a conspiracy investigation? Technically, I think it's been 6. That does improve it. Is that a yes? She squeezed my hand once. Yes. Rachel stepped out behind us. I am professionally required to say, this is not the time for major life decisions. Maya looked at her. It's dinner. Rachel considered that. Fine. Dinner is admissible. For the first time since the gala, I laughed without fear attached to it. The weeks that followed were uglier and quieter than that night. Halo Meridian's board suspended Victor. Accounts were frozen, and investigators traced the missing money through entities Maya had already mapped. The men in the Escalade admitted the pursuit had been staged to pressure us toward Rosemont. The house search had been staged, too. They had built the night from real pieces. A real gun, a real chase, a real bank box, real stolen money, real credentials with my name on them. The lie existed in how those pieces were arranged. 2 months later, federal prosecutors formally told Rachel I was no longer a target. I did not celebrate by going back to work. There was barely a company left to return to. Instead, I joined a public integrity consulting group helping agencies design controls against the exact kind of access abuse Victor had exploited. Maya took a position with a forensic accounting firm 3 floors above mine. We still argued about spreadsheets. We just did it over better coffee. Victor and Claire pleaded not guilty and attacked every piece of evidence they could. I learned not to confuse an arrest with an ending, but documented truth moves, even when it moves slowly. One rainy Friday in November, Maya and I left a restaurant after our 9th official date. Yes, I counted, she said when I accused her of keeping records. You're a forensic accountant. Counting is your entire personality. Says the man who labels leftovers by date. That prevents waste. That prevents joy. We reached my car. The repaired rear quarter panel shone under the street lamp. For a second, I was back at that intersection, Claire's hand over mine, her voice urgent in the dark. Keep going. Maya noticed I had stopped. You okay? Yeah. I opened the passenger door for her. She got in, then looked at me over the roof. You sure? I thought about the sentence that had changed everything. Claire had meant, keep driving into the trap. Now I heard it differently. Keep going past the convenient story, past fear, until the truth can stand without anyone's performance holding it up. I got behind the wheel. Maya reached across the console. Her hand rested over mine. For one involuntary second, every muscle in my body tightened. She felt it. Then she slowly lifted her hand. Sorry. I turned my palm upward and caught her fingers. No, I said. Leave it. She watched me carefully. Rain ticked against the windshield. Where to? She asked. I smiled. Anywhere that isn't Rosemont Community Bank. That narrows it down. I started the car. As we pulled away, my phone buzzed with a news alert Rachel had forwarded. Federal grand jury returns. Superseding indictment in Hale Meridian public funds case. I read only the first line at the red light. Victor and Claire Hale had both been charged with additional counts tied to the conspiracy to frame me. Maya glanced at the screen. You want to read the rest? Tomorrow. I turned the phone face down. That was another thing I had learned. Evidence mattered. Truth mattered. But so did knowing when you were finally safe enough to stop chasing it for one night. At the next intersection, the light turned green. Maya's hand was still in mine. I remembered Claire's whisper, Victor's smile, the fake drive disappearing into evidence, while the real one stayed hidden against my chest. That choice had mattered, but I survived because Maya warned me. Reeves kept questioning the story, Rachel showed up, and the records held. Truth had arrived as people refusing to let one polished lie erase everything else. I pressed the accelerator and drove on, not because someone told me to, because this time I chose the direction myself. If this story left you with one question, let it be this. When fear and evidence point in different directions, which one deserves your trust first? If you believe truth is strongest when good people protect it together, like the video, subscribe, and tell me what you would have done at that turn in the rain.